by the mercy of Allah, I was able to come across some information that most Americans do not know, right? Everything, 90% of what we were taught about money was a lie, right? Or should I say, an intentional misdirection, okay? Historically, as Muslims and believers, we all know that we use certain things as money even before, you know, before the seal of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We use rice, dates, wheat, barley, salt. We use what they call gold, which is the dinar, silver, which is dirham, and then copper, right? Those are what we use and traded, bartered as money from the Egyptian time, or what they call ancient Kemet, all the way up into today. But what happened is, somewhere in history, they did a switcheroo on us. And because our community was so hot and heavy into fighting slavery, we did not get the lesson of what money is and what money was. Some of us remember from our fathers giving us old silver coins, right? And telling y'all, like, look, you hold this home. Do not put it in the bank, because y'all remember what happened in the 1930s, right? So everybody here is in the age to understand what happened in 1971 with President Nixon.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that being said, there's two forms of money in the United States right now circulating around, right? They have one they call paper currency, right?
Fiat currency.
Fiat currency, I'm going to pass this around. This is just different fiat currencies from around the world. You can just pass it around, inshallah, take a look at them. All right, those are fiat currencies. Now, what most people don't know is the government, as some of us may know, that they mocked and mirrored a lot of what Islam did, right? And here's one of the indicators. We all know that in the Quran, Allah say, "Kun fayakun," be and it is, right? Well, that's what fiat means. Did y'all know that? Fiat means basically government. They set the value of it and be as it is, and it is. That's basically what fiat means.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Right? So with that understanding, they're basically telling you what the value is. And in reality, we know what the value of what money is, because we've used gold and silver for over 5,000 years, right? As believers, which is halal money. Now, based on what we've come to understand as halal is anything that's permissible, right? We know, based on the old scriptures, that in the old scriptures they talked about usury, right? In the Quran they talk about riba. In America they talk about interest. So, if I had a business and I was selling alcohol, cigarettes, and I took the money from that, it's not halal, is it? No, because I made it through alternate means. Right? I made it through selling haram items.
Oh, okay.
Do you understand what I'm telling you?
Oh, okay.
So that is not halal, right? So with that understanding, if you know how the U.S. dollar is created or brought into play, or how it's made, I think it was Henry Ford, over 140 years ago, had made a statement. If the American people understood the banking system, there would be a revolution before the morning. He said that 140 years ago, right? Because as a businessman in America who was fairly wealthy, selling vehicles to the world, he understood how the banking system worked, right? And with that being said, the way the dollar is created is created based on riba, right? Once they took the dirham and the dinar from the circulating supply of the United States currency, it became a fiat currency, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, I don't know if you've ever seen what real money is, right? This is not a dollar. This is not a dollar. Look at this side, Aki, and then turn it over. That's not what they call a Federal Reserve note. And then you have on the other side the counterpart to that, right? So with that being said, that was the foundation of money in the United States. What they did like every other country in the world, is they had a set number of money. Only Allah can make real money. This is gold and silver, right? Watch this. They took this, they put it in the bank. And because it was too heavy and cumbersome to carry this, they created certificates that represented gold and silver. So when you read, I'll read it just in case y'all don't, if it's too small, because the writing is small. Once they created these paper certificates, it represented real money. Right. So the way the United States was set up is we would transact. I would sell you a jacket, you'll sell me corn. I'll sell you oils, you'll sell me, you know, kufis. I'll sell you bean pies. In the month, the certificate would circulate. Whoever ended up with the certificate and they wanted their money, they will go to the bank, they will give them the certificate, and then you will get your money. Your money was the gold and the silver. That was the way the United States was set up. And because of the different times, you know, just coming out of slavery and Jim Crow, the generation that lived in that time did not properly transfer that knowledge to the next generation. They did not properly transfer it. What they did was they told each other, and I know y'all have some elders in your family that told y'all to take this home, take it out the bank. They didn't trust the bank, did they? For as far as y'all know, the elders did not trust the bank because they remember what happened from their ancestors in the 1800s when, right out of slavery, we had over, I think it was $25 million. Listen to what I'm telling you. Right out of slavery, we had more money and land then than as a people, collectively, than we do now. And what happened was, long story short, the same system that robbed us then, Wall Street, is the same system that's robbing us now. Same system. And because we have let governments remove our deen, the understanding, the physical part of our deen, right, from our psyche, we are suffering right now with poverty, debt, because this right here maintains wealth, gold and silver, and I'm going to show you that. So with that being said, this is a $10 certificate, and this is what it says at the top. Silver certificate. This certifies that there is on deposit in the Treasury of the United States $10 in silver payable to the bearer on demand. That's what this says. That's the difference between this and what they call a Federal Reserve note. On the opposite side, it's a gold certificate. Now, mind you, what they did was they played with the words a little bit. This is lawful money. When they changed over to fiat, it became legal tender.
That's right.
Okay? That's right. So watch this. This says the same thing. This certifies that there is, have on deposit in the Treasury of the United States $10 in gold coin payable to the bearer on demand. Right? It's important for us to understand the history of where we came from through Islam, right? Or through, but even before Islam, in ancient Kemet, through the Christian era, through Islam, and through the rest of the civilization, we always use gold and silver. And whenever they remove the money that only Allah can create out of their circulating supply of their currency, within 80 to 100 years, that system collapsed. Every single time. Fiat currency has a 100% failure rate. That's right. 100%. There's never been a fiat currency in the history of the world that survived more than 100-something years and maintained its purchasing power. Not one. With that being said, the United States dollar is a fiat currency. Right. And we are watching, and the whole world categorically deny the use and circulation of the dollar anymore. Right? Are we watching that? Yeah. Do we remember our brother? Go ahead.
How much is that you have in your hand? You held up.
This is an ounce.
2 pieces.
This is an ounce, and this is an ounce.
And how much was that silver per ounce? How much is that silver per ounce?
Today?
Yeah, today.
Okay, today this is about, the spot price is about $31 per ounce.
Silver, okay.
Silver. The retail price is about $34, $35.
Okay, so how much is the gold one?
The gold one is $2,800 today.
And that's an ounce?
An ounce.
$2,800.
$2,800 an ounce. Now let me give you some history. This is the reason why everything that Allah gave us is superior to anything else that man gave us. Listen to me carefully. In 1933, 1 ounce of gold was $20.
That's right.
So if I kept $20 and you put it in your safe, and to 2025 and came and put that same $20, it will not buy an ounce of gold. It will not buy an ounce of silver. It will barely buy copper, which is the lowest, the cheapest monetary metal we have. That's the reason why we are supposed to save gold and silver. It's halal money. And it maintains its value over thousands of years.
That's right.
Right? Our beloved brother Isa, alayhi salam, was betrayed by Judas. They paid him what? 30 pieces of silver. Same silver, we still here. The silver's still here, right? So why is it that we don't save it? I'm just going to give you my opinion based on factual history. It is my belief that in this country, we watched this country unalive a lot of Muslims because they denied that currency. Number one, we remember our brother Gaddafi, right? Gaddafi had a system, whereas they had shared all of the profits from all of the oil with the citizens. They had a system where if you had a baby, they would take off, I think, a year, the husband and the wife, right? Free schooling, all of these things. America couldn't let that, the Western nations, let me say that. The Western nations couldn't let that be. The end-all be-all was when the brother came together with the heads of Africa and said that we no longer want to take dollars for oil because the international bilateral trade agreement states that we are supposed to take lawful money for our oil. So they denied using dollars. They went to the African countries to try to create a unified gold currency, and the rest was history. Okay? So with that being said, that's where our psyche came and just kind of like deterred us from saving gold and silver, right? And I believe in addition to that, we got into the hustle and bustle of every day going to work 9 to 5, coming home, paying our bills. And I can tell you, a lot of people, if one person said it to me in the last 15 years, 100, if I can't buy bread from the corner, I don't want gold and silver. Because they don't understand, right? Now watch this. Can you take your stocks and go buy bread from the corner?
No.
Can you take your real estate and go buy bread from the corner?
No.
Can you take a bond, a U.S. Treasury bond, and get bread from the corner? No, you have to trade it for currency that's accepted by the corner store owner.
Okay.
So that's the reason why it's important for us to come back to this before the rest of the world does, because now it's cheap. And what I'm about to show you is just some historical things, and then we're going to get back into why we're here. And inshallah ta'ala, we can pay this masjid off in the next 24
Can I
months.
ask you one
inshallah.
question?
Yes,
The silver certificates,
yes.
can you still cash them in?
No.
Cash it in for silver?
You would have to go to the Federal Reserve Bank, and they're not going to honor it because they changed the law. But with that being said, I'm going to get into what's going on in the law that most people don't know because we're just not connected to the financial industry. Alhamdulillah, I'm going to tell you my story. Is the reason why I know as much as I do is because Allah took me through a journey that most of us probably will never experience. But you know, it was a mercy. But let me get to this. Now we can turn the lights off. This is 140 years and 10 minutes.
As good as gold, and it hasn't been since 1971. This is the world monetary systems. From 1873, when Germany went on the classical gold standard, where each unit of currency is backed up by an equivalent amount of gold in the treasury. In the United States, $20 bill, $20 gold piece in the vault. Go into any bank, slap down your currency, which was a receipt for money, a claim check on money, ask for your money, gold and silver, and they would give it to you. So this shows, this is currency, this is money. Otherwise, there was no reason for any government to store gold in their vaults and then print this currency that was backed by gold. This is what gives confidence in that. And it gives governments the ability to start this scam in the first place, where they print these receipts for gold, and then they can print more of them than gold that exists. And that happened when we got to World War I, and all the combatants stopped redemption rights. You could no longer go in the bank and trade your pounds, lira, marks, francs, no longer redeemable in gold, and they lit up the printing presses and started printing like crazy. Then between the wars, they went on something called the Gold Exchange Standard, where currencies would be backed partially by gold. So in the United States, under the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, the Federal Reserve was allowed to put $50 worth of claim checks on gold, currency in circulation, backed up by only $20 worth of gold. So it was a 40% reserve ratio. For every $20 gold piece in the vault, they could put $50 in circulation.
We're the dollars of the nation of parade. We're the biggest batch of dollars ever made. So we used to march by millions, but now we march by billions, and maybe we'll be trillions for your dead. We're the dollars.
Then we get to 1944. Now, during both wars, Europe paid the U.S. with gold. During World War I, the U.S. didn't get into the war until the very end of it. We didn't really have troops on the ground here in any quantity until the last 6 months of the war. So for the first 4 years or so, we're selling you, you take all of your young men off of the farms and turn them into soldiers. You take your factories that make toasters and they start making machine guns. Your factories that made cars are now building tanks. And so you turn your economy toward war, and all of your consumer goods and your grains had to be imported from the United States, and you paid us with gold. Then in World War II, Hitler starts saber rattling in 1936, annexes Austria in 38, invades Poland in 39. Pearl Harbor wasn't until the end of 1941. We didn't have troops on the ground until, I believe, August of 42. So again, there's like 6 years where you're paying us with your gold, and we're selling you stuff. This is where Americans have this myth that war is good for the economy. War is good for the economy if you're not in it, and you're selling them the tools of the trade.
Yes, America's national income gets bigger and bigger. In 1943, it was $142 billion. That was double the 1939 figure, triple the figure for 1933.
But by the end of World War II, the U.S. had 2/3 of all the world's monetary gold, the central bank gold, and the rest of the world had to share the other third, and Europe had none. So the world monetary system was no longer going to work. It would collapse. But we had made all these loans of dollars to Europe.
Watch
So
this.
Europe was flooded with dollars. And so representatives from around the world met at Bretton Woods, New Hampshire in 1944. They came up with a new world monetary system called the Bretton Woods system, where every currency on the planet, with the exception of just a few, they would be backed by the U.S. dollar. And the U.S. dollar would then be backed by gold at $35 per ounce. This gave confidence to all currencies. So this gave the world stability, and it pegged all the world's currencies to each other through the dollar to gold. So there was no such thing as the Forex. Currencies didn't float. The exchange rates were fixed year after year, and this helped to make world trade boom. Then the dollar standard starts because we kept on printing dollars. Under the Bretton Woods system, there was no reserve ratio established where the U.S. actually had to have a certain amount of gold for how many dollars we created. So we had done a bunch of deficit spending for Korea, for Vietnam, for Johnson's Great Society, and expanded the currency supply, the amount of paper dollars in circulation, and exported them all over the world. And then in the 60s, Charles de Gaulle, president of France, realizes that we don't have the gold to back up the dollars.
Le fait que beaucoup d'États acceptent par principe des dollars au même titre que de l'or entraîne les Américains à s'endetter et à s'endetter gratuitement vis-à-vis de l'étranger, car ce qu'ils lui doivent, ils le lui payent avec des dollars qu'il ne tient qu'à eux d'émettre. Nous estimons nécessaire que les échanges internationaux soient établis comme c'était le cas avant les grands malheurs du monde, sur une base monétaire indiscutable,
banks asks for their gold, trades in the dollars, and at that point, other countries saw this and started jumping on board, and the U.S. lost 50% of its gold from 1959 to 1971, but we still had in 71 about 12 times more dollars that we had created than there was gold.
Watch this.
And this run on the bank, basically, the U.S. now being the bank, this is a giant worldwide bank run, because the U.S. for the second time had committed a fraud and created more receipts for gold than there was gold. It's that simple. Then finally the markets sort of sensed this, and Nixon was forced to take us off the gold standard, because if he had paid out gold until it got to zero, once we couldn't pay on some of those dollars, the entire worldwide monetary system would have collapsed.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States. In full cooperation with the International Monetary Fund and those who trade with us, we will press for the necessary reforms to set up an urgently needed new international monetary system.
And on August 15th, 1971, all the world's currencies became fiat currency. I don't know why the rest of the world didn't rush out and hang him, but they didn't. They just all went along with this.
To our friends abroad, I give this assurance. The United States has always been and will continue to be a forward-looking and trustworthy trading partner.
There have been thousands upon thousands upon thousands of fiat currencies throughout history, and there isn't one that survived. It is a 100% failure rate. And we started this experiment where all the world's currencies would be fiat currencies simultaneously in 1971. But what we have here, 30 to 40 years, different monetary system, 30 years, 28 years, 39 years plus, what's next? The world is going to have a new monetary system in this decade that we're in. We're going to experience this huge deflationary crash around the world. The world will probably end up on some sort of new monetary system, probably after governments try and print their way out of this and cause hyperinflations of all the currencies, and people will just lose confidence in currency. And what do they always go back to throughout history? Time after time, for the last 5,000 years actually, they always go back to gold and silver.
They go back to halal money. Every single time. You can turn the lights back on now. Turn that up a little bit. Now, this is the mercy of Allah. They have a saying that success leave clues, right? Success leave clues. And because Allah gave us history, right? That's all the clues that we need between the Quran and every other thing that we can study on earth. We'll know anything and everything based on history. If those circumstances repeat, then the history is going to repeat. That's basically how we do. What they do is they say the history sometimes, it don't always repeat, but sometimes it rhymes. That's what they say. But being a financial historian, it repeats. It repeats every time. Now here's the thing. This video was almost 12 years old. He said after this happens, government's going to try to print their way out. Did you hear him say that there's going to be a huge monetary crash?
Yeah.
What happened in 2008? There was a huge monetary crash. What did they do? They blamed it on a virus and printed their way out, right? But what that does, it causes inflation, right? Now, here's the question. What have we been led to believe cause inflation? Anybody know?
High interest rates.
High interest rates. Anything else? If you can tell me what caused inflation, there's an ounce of silver. Exactly what causes it.
Supply and demand, maybe.
That's what controls the price of silver and gold and Bitcoin is supply and demand. That's why this is important. We'll get to that in a minute. What?
Printing a lot of money.
Say it again?
Printing a lot of money.
You don't get the silver. Yes, that's it. When the United States Federal Reserve prints money and more, prints currency, excuse me, because they can't print money. They print currency after currency after currency. Now watch this. Now, No. So listen, here's the thing. Watch this. What happens every single time there's an election? They have to do raise the what? The debt ceiling. Why do they keep raising the debt ceiling? Why do they just don't take the money that they collect in taxes, federal, state taxes, and pay the debt off? Why do they not do that?
That makes more sense.
They can't.
Why?
Now, I have another ounce of silver. This is U.S. history. This is why I monitor. Let me just tell you this, and then I'm gonna get back to this lesson where we are right now. Most of us, I grew up in poverty. Let me tell you my story. I grew up in poverty right here in Newark, right? My father, on my father's side, they owned, in the 1950s, they started a tire shop on 15th Avenue and 13th Street, my Uncle Charlie. By the time 1964 came, he had 3 tire shops, right? He was the first millionaire in our family, right? He was what they call a functional illiterate, but he was a businessman.
Yeah.
Very smart, humble heart, good brother, businessman. He was the first millionaire in our family. That was my example of business. And then through my mother was on welfare. Through a 10 to 12 year period, she went from on welfare, got a job at, matter of fact, she had a job right here in Elizabeth first, right? Then she went to the Board of Education, she went to Westside High School, and then the Board of Education. Throughout that 12-year process, she started an international business, right? Selling products from one country to another. And when she returned to Allah in '87, we received generational wealth transfer of high 6 figures, almost over $250,000. And as the oldest in the family, I had to then come home from college, right, and take care of my younger brothers and sisters. So at the age of 19 or 20, I bought my first piece of real estate, and then from then out, the rest is history. In 2000, it took me about 10 years. Within 10 years, I had spent that money. The first thing I did, having the heart that I had, was I gave my grandmother the money to pay off her house, because I understood the lesson that my mother was teaching us, that she wanted us to own real estate, even though she would never be able to wake up in her own house.
Yes, sir.
So with that understanding, I began trying to teach my younger siblings and people around me of what generational wealth transfer is and why it's important, right? In 2005, my wife and I decided, it was an event that happened. You might understand this. The landlord told us that we couldn't cook out in the backyard. I said, what? We can't cook out in the backyard. We paying you rent. The light bulb went off. I ain't supposed to be renting anyway. My mother taught me better than this. My family taught me better than this. That next year we started buying real estate. We bought, in 2006 we bought one. By 2008, we had almost $3.5 million in real estate, right? Alhamdulillah. We had 2 in Irvington, 2 in Newark, 1 in Montclair, and one of the brothers from Irvington, y'all might know him, brother named Maurice, they call him Barnes. He was one of the brothers that helped us to get into real estate. But with that being said, what happened in 2008? The crash, the crash came, right? So I did not know, nobody in my family, none of my friends or relatives, nobody in my circle of influence came to me and said, Amir, instead of buying that next piece of real estate, you need to start buying gold because the market is about to crash. Nobody told me that. Matter of fact, nobody in our community was even talking about this publicly that I know. So I say that to say, we were blindsided in 2008, right? 550 banks went out of business. 550 banks. How many people remember Howard Savings Bank?
Sure.
It was, so all of them disappeared in 2008. I want you to understand what's happened. So guess what happened in the result of 2008? Remember Mike Maloney said that we were coming to a new monetary system soon? The birth of a new monetary system was created. Y'all heard of Bitcoin? Right? Now let me tell you what the government did. The government, the news, told us that this was bad. This cryptocurrency was bad. It was used for drug dealers. It's used for money traffickers, money launderers, human trafficking, right? drugs. This is what they told us about this currency. Well, the truth is, this mimics Allah's money. Why? Because they can't print this. Governments don't make this. They can't create Bitcoin. How is Bitcoin's price relative goes in up and down, volatile, right? Because people are like, I don't want to mess with Bitcoin. It goes up, the price goes up and down. Well, I guarantee you, if you look at the price of gold and silver today, tomorrow, next week, it's going to go up and down. You know why? Because Bitcoin has the same money metrics that control the price as gold and silver. What happens is, what you just said, bro, what you say, supply and demand?
Supply and demand.
That's what governs the price of gold and silver. If 100 million people tomorrow went and bought gold, the price would skyrocket.
Yeah.
If 100 million people sold it, the price would plummet. That's the natural order of all commodities. But they made us, because I was one of them, believe that that was bad when it came to this, but it's normal when it came to this. Y'all see this? You picking up what I'm putting down? Watch this. Now, here's the new monetary system. In 2008, they had came up with a white paper that they released called Bitcoin, right? What they did was created a monetary system and a network all wrapped up into one, right? So I can send any one of y'all in here a digital currency that the government don't create, right? So here's the difference. Bitcoin is a digital currency just like the US dollar is, right? Right now, only 10% this is in circulation, right? After the khutbah, after the sermons in church, what do they do? They use digital money, Cash App, Zelle to send money to the believers, right? Or to the church, right? That's digital money. It's the same thing. The difference is that digital currency is governed and controlled by a private organization called the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is no more federal compared to the United States than Federal Express.
That's right.
I'm going to say that again.
Wow.
The Federal Reserve is no more a part of the United States government than Federal Express is.
So it's a private
It's
organization.
a private organization that they tricked us.
Right.
In 1913, they tricked us into believing that this was best for the United States.
Right.
Now, let me tell you something.
So you're saying that the money that's in you send what do you call it, Apple Pay or something?
Yeah.
So that money's in cyberspace.
Yeah, it's just a digital currency.
So where's my money?
It don't really exist. It's just a group of numbers on a ledger. That's all it is. So go ahead.
Figment of the imagination to say I'm going to buy Bitcoin, but I don't have anything to represent that I have.
Wait, I'm gonna get right to that question. Say what you gonna say.
So, but if someone cash out me money to my account,
Right.
I can still go to the bank and get that money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can go to the bank and get that money. I'm gonna deal with that question about Bitcoin right there. But let me do this real quick, and let me get to the progression of what he said in 140 years. Let me bring it into our terms right now. Right. So our grandparents used to use this paper dollars and checks. Right. From checks in 1950, something else was invented. Plastic. They said, I remember my older folks, and y'all might remember this too, they didn't trust credit cards when they first came out.
Yeah.
They didn't trust it.
That's right.
Now, today you can't go nowhere without a digital, without a people, yes sir.
They're gonna, from what I'm hearing, in Europe and China, they're gonna create the chip in order for you to purchase, and it's gonna be inside your hand.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's something else. I'm gonna deal with that too. But here's the thing. I want y'all to understand the progression of how money has changed over time. And we just have to understand, right, deal with the hikmah of what's happening and change along with it as long as it's what? Halal. Watch this. 1950, the debit card, the credit card, what is it? American Express came out, right? From American Express, let's go back to our welfare. They had what?
First.
They had
Oh.
food stamps, right?
That's right.
I remember I grew up, if I took this to the corner store and that food stamp didn't match the number on the book, You couldn't get nothing out that corner store. You got to go back home, get that food stamp book, and make sure the numbers on that food stamp book match. Okay, so what did they do with the food stamps? It's a card now,
Yeah.
right?
Very first.
It's everything digital, right?
Yeah.
Watch this. We used to be able to go and put change in all of the vending machines, right? It's all digital now. Have you been to the laundromat lately? It's digital. I want you to understand that they have progressively got us to accept a digital society, but when this came out, we rejected it, and we already using it. How many people got Apple Pay, Google Pay, Zelle, Venmo? Think about what I'm telling you. All that's digital systems, right?
Yeah.
But this is the most superior form of those digital currencies. They call Bitcoin digital what? Gold. Because it mimics the principles of gold and silver, right? Now I'm gonna come back to the crypto. I'm gonna deal with what you just said, bro. With Europe and those other nations. Listen to me carefully. Have y'all ever heard the phrase or the acronym BRICS Nation?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So the BRICS nations is comprised of B for Brazil, R for Russia, I for India, C for China, S for what? South Africa. These countries have watched what the Western nations did to who? Our brother Gaddafi. Did to who? Our brother Saddam. Did to who? Our brother, what's the other brother name? Bin Laden. They made them terrorists.
Tyrants.
When in actuality, all they wanted to do was use another currency other than the U.S. dollar. That's the truth.
Can't do that.
That's the truth. I'm telling you, that's the
If you
truth.
do that, you'll mess America up.
Right, but here's the truth.
I gotta get rid of
We watched that. We watched them systematically get rid of every single person, black or white. Remember that guy they called JFK? Why they killed JFK?
He wanted to change the currency.
I'm gonna tell you exactly what he wanted. He wanted to put in circulation. You can Google it when you get home. He wanted to put in circulation another dose of silver certificates. Instead of going to the Federal Reserve for money, he wanted the U.S. Treasury to put silver certificates in circulation. And when they killed him, the next day they repealed the executive order. The
Lincoln
next day,
Lincoln was the same way.
boom. What did Lincoln do? He
wanted-
created what?
I think
The greenback.
that's what it was called.
The greenback, because they were committing counterfeit, because back then they didn't have what? Color ink.
Right.
So one side of the currency was black, but the other side was green. That's number one. Number two, that he wanted to end what? Slavery.
Yeah.
Right? Even though he had his own slaves, I want y'all to understand he didn't do it out of the kindness of his heart.
Right.
He did it because the United States and the North were capitalist. They knew that the money they was making was from business.
That's right.
The South had an unfair advantage because they was getting free what?
Labor.
Labor.
Slaves.
Okay, so I want y'all to understand that every single assassination in this country was behind this.
That's right.
Okay, now,
White boss.
with that being said, here's where we get into the BRICS nations and digital currency. Listen to me carefully, Akeem. The United States, all right, so I'm gonna try to give another ounce of silver away. What is the U.S. national debt?
It's
Something like
34
39 trillion.
trillion.
39 trillion.
66.
34 trillion.
66 trillion.
No. Anybody else?
71.
No. Anybody else?
Gotta be 39, 30.
It was the closest.
I was the closest.
It's 36.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
It's 36 trillion.
39, 36.
Now, I want y'all to understand something. I want y'all to understand something. When I tell you I've been studying monetary history, people used to say, oh, man, you worshiping that for loot. I said, no, I'm not. I said, if you are a history teacher and you go to school and teach everyday history, are you worshiping history?
No.
If you're a gym teacher and every day you go to school and you teach gym to your children, and because you do it every day, are you worshiping your gym?
No, that's my forte. That's my job.
Okay, so that's what it, yes,
Increasing your knowledge.
yes.
Sister first.
No, I just wanted to say that.
The time we in now, they're trying to abolish black history in the schools.
Yeah.
Now, I'm
Under
gonna,
this Trumpism.
yep, now, I'm gonna temporarily touch on Trump. Listen to me. Let me explain something to y'all about this currency and these politicians. Our politics is the Quran.
Right,
Listen to what I'm telling you.
right.
Do not be sidetracked by what these people are doing, because I see a lot of believers online going crazy. You know, we fear Allah. Didn't you say that today?
Yes, yes,
Akeem?
Right.
Joma. Yeah.
Right? We fear Allah. Why am I worried about them? Oh, they're going to repeal.
Right.
They're going to take away.
Yeah.
It don't apply to us.
Right.
It don't apply to us. The
Right.
14th Amendment was created for the children of the African descendants, slaves. It does not apply to everybody else who used our struggle to elevate.
Right.
Now, with that being said, listen to me carefully. Whenever you see nationalities around the world, you see Muslims, right? You see atheists, you see Indians, you see Hindus are coming together against one nation.
Yep.
Or with one ideology against the West. It used to be the G20s. Now it's the BRICS nations against the G7. Right? And what they're doing is they have already, listen to what I'm telling you. It's not a thought, it's not a hypothesis. They have already created another central bank, the BRICS nations.
That's right.
Right? They have already created another currency and another network. It's called the M-Bridge. They have already started transacting money with each other without the US dollar. If you know any Muslims from Egypt, if you know anybody from Ethiopia, if you know any one of them that's part of those BRICS nations, they have outlawed the US dollar. They do not use it. If somebody, and came directly from one of our brothers, one of our Egyptian brothers, if an Egyptian citizen get caught with US dollars, he go into jail in Egypt. Right? Nigeria has become the latest country that have outlawed or start trading out of US dollar treasuries for gold and silver. Right? Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, and a group of other nations have come together and kicked Western nations out of their country. They are no longer exporting gold. China is no longer exporting gold. India is no longer exporting their greatest exports, which is rice, the best rice in the world. They're not exporting it no more. They are basically keeping their assets they're going to use as a currency, as part of the makeup of the currency system, those commodities along with gold and silver. That's what they're doing. So we don't have a long time.
Wow.
We don't have a long time. So let me say this last part. I'm going to take all your questions and I'm going to get to it. What they're doing right now is this. Have you heard Donald Trump or what's her name, Loomis, state that they're going to create a Bitcoin reserve? Have y'all heard that yet?
Not yet.
Okay. They're going to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve or cryptocurrency reserve. Why is the United States, after 7 years, you heard Jamie Dimon call it a scam, you heard Warren Buffett call it rat poison, you heard all of these billionaires talk bad about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin for 10 years. And then in 2017, something changed. Then they start talking about it's good. Then they start talking about it's a flight to quality. Before you knew it, in 2024, what happened? The world's first Bitcoin ETF was created in January 2024. Did y'all know that? An ETF, did y'all know that? They have a crypto ETF, a Bitcoin ETF in the United States.
Is that why all the Bitcoin ATMs started popping up?
Bingo. If you Google it, Costco's now going to have Bitcoin ATMs in every store. Costco's. Now, go ahead.
So the cryptocurrency is basically still money in cyberspace. The government's going to have a card called FedNow. That's cryptocurrency, correct?
Well, no. What FedNow is a digital. What they're doing now, FedNow is a network. It's a blockchain network they're going to use. It's not the same thing. It is on the ledger. It's on the blockchain, but it's not Bitcoin. They're going to use other cryptocurrencies to transfer value. Right? That's for another class. But I just want y'all to understand this. For the last 3 to 4 years, I have been buying goods and services from some of the largest American corporations in America. And I'm going to name a few. You tell me if you ever heard of them. You heard of Barnes & Noble?
Yeah.
They accept Bitcoin. You heard of Starbucks? They
Yeah.
accept Bitcoin. Have you heard of
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A?
I mean,
Yes.
Wait a minute. Not Chick-fil-A. Oh, come on.
Chipotle.
Chipotle.
They accept Bitcoin. There's over 100 Nordstroms in the mall at Short Hills. They accept Bitcoin. Now, here's the question. If I've been spending Bitcoin at these locations for 3 or 4 years, why haven't they told us? Why haven't they told us that they already changed the system, but they're waiting for the next crash before they implement the new system?
Okay.
So you're gonna tell me?
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah, yeah.
What they're doing is a 50-50 or 60-40 split. The United States have already started in 2017, 2018, removing the taxes off gold and silver. Did y'all know that?
So you're gonna cause the problem, fix it for me, and then you're gonna be the man.
That's what they did. They created a fiat currency because they committed a fraud
Yeah.
in 1971. Now, those same bankers have exacerbated the U.S. national debt. They can't pay it off. So what did they do in 2008? They created another currency. And they tried to tell us it was Satoshi Nakamoto. Y'all remember that? That's his name. That's his name they gave him, Satoshi Nakamoto. Here's the question. I believed it in the beginning. So let me just say this, my story. 2009, I was in precious metals. I went to a school called GIA. Y'all know GIA? If you ever bought your wife or cousin or aunt a diamond, you get a GIA certified. That's the school I went to learn about precious metals and precious stones. My ideology was, after I lost all that money in real estate, I wanted to get into something that was halal, which was gold, right? So that was my mindset, right? Gold and diamonds come out the earth, right? Long story short, once I went to school and learned these things, I was disenfranchised with the process of how these diamonds work because there was a group of people who ruled that industry. I'm not going to say who they are.
The Jews.
Okay.
Oh,
The
I'm
bees.
sorry.
So they ruled that industry, and because of that, I got disenfranchised because they are now exploiting our people, right, for a mineral that's not even scarce. They told us, they made us believe it was scarce, but that's another story. Long story short is this, yes.
Is there a reason why thousands of banks are closing every year?
Yes, because they don't have no money, huh? Listen.
That's right.
And they don't need tellers. That's going to be obsolete, like the food chain.
There's some
and the
banks
stores.
like
So let me tell you how money is created. How currency is created, because I didn't really get into that. When you go into a bank with your credentials, you go into the bank and they verify if you're credit worthy. They take your information and they go get a loan and
my name.
and with your name.
That's right.
That's what they do, right? And then they put you on the hook for it.
They don't have
That's right.
They don't have the
And I don't
money.
even
They
know.
create it out of thin air. They create what they call credit.
Yeah.
So every single circulating dollar is another man's debt.
That's right.
I'm going to say it again. Every single circulating dollar is another person's debt. It is not like this. This is scarce. When you got this in your possession, this is yours because this is your right.
So that's 9/10 of the law. That if the bank got my money, then it doesn't belong to me.
It
It
don't
belongs
belong
to
to
the
you.
bank.
When you sign that agreement to start your account, you basically give them the authority to use your money the way they want to. Now in 2021, in 2020, March 20th, they changed the banking law. Of course they didn't tell us.
Oh wow, they didn't
Watch
tell me.
this, watch this. Our banks have a basic system called fractional reserve lending, right? Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
Fractional reserve lending. What does that mean? That means when one of the believers go to the bank, they deposit $100, they're supposed to keep $10 of that money
Just
on
in case.
reserve in case you come back and you want your money back.
Right.
Well, on March 20th, 2020, they reduced the reserve to 0. They no longer have to keep none of your money in the bank. They can now gamble, invest, or whatever they want to do, 100% of it. So if anybody in the last 3 years ever had to go to the bank and say, I want my $5,000, they say, okay, Mr. Muslim, We don't have your money. You gotta come back on Wednesday.
That's
Yeah,
right.
you
Y'all
gotta make
know
an
y'all already-
appointment.
You gotta make an
Gotta make an
appointment.
appointment.
They don't have the money. They
That's
broke.
right. That's
Listen to
right.
me. They broke.
That happened.
Yes.
What's gonna happen when the next crash come and all your money's in the bank?
So here's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. Alhamdulillah. That's why I'm here. I'm here to warn you. I first got to teach you the truth. Because you're not going to accept the solution if you don't understand the problem. The most of us right now do not understand that even though we Muslim and read this Quran every Ramadan and so on and so forth, we were Christian before, but gold and silver is in the Bible 700 times. It's more in the Bible than more than all the believers put together. Because it was a principle. Say that to say this. Once we understand the other part of our deen, we shake off this debt. We shake off the suffering, the financial suffering, struggling to pay these bills. You know why? Because you're saving a currency that's printed on a copy machine that loses its value every single year.
Because it's not backed by
Because it's
anything.
not backed by anything. If you took 10%, I want you to hear what I'm telling you, and I'm going to show you right here, right now. If you took 10% of your income and saved what only Allah can create, gold and silver, since you were working, when you started working at 20, everybody in here be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Millionaire!
Right.
Millionaire. This coin right here is called the MS-70, right? Now there's two currencies in every single developed country. There's a paper currency and there's gold and silver in every single country. I have coins from Canada, I have coins from Africa, I have coins from Great Britain, I have coins from Mexico. Every single developed country on this planet has two kinds of currencies, gold and silver and a paper currency. Why they only taught us about the paper?
To keep us away from the
They keep us out, they keep our money in their system while they take God's money.
Both channels.
Carnegie's, DuPont's, all of them.
Kept me
Yes.
in the dark.
Yeah, I had read on my phone in an article that China was buying up a tremendous amount of gold.
Talk about it, sis.
So there must be a reason for that. And because they know that it's getting ready to crash, and they want to make sure they're backed up with something that is solid.
Now, what you just said, ladies, lead me into my next thing. China has bought more gold than any other country on planet Earth. India is buying between 40 million and 60 million ounces of silver every month. I'm going to say it again. In October of 2024, they bought 60 million ounces of silver in a month and took delivery. Why are they buying so much gold and silver?
Because they know something we don't know.
Because they know that they are what they call, they're preparing for the new monetary system, because they know once they deny the use of the dollar and the demand for, you say supply and demand, what happens when the demand diminishes for the US dollar? What happens to the value? It goes down.
And then that's going to crash our economy.
And most of us are going to get hurt.
Yeah. So.
We're going to be the ones who get left with the bag of worthless dollars.
But you see it coming. There's a train on the
Yes.
track. You see it coming.
Yes, sis.
What do you do now?
Yes, sis.
My flag went up when I started seeing in the news a couple of months back when they was telling me, well, not telling me, but telling the world that Costco started selling gold bars.
Talk about it.
And it was like every week they would sell
Yeah,
out,
sure.
sell out, sell out. And I was like, what's going on? Something's happening. And my aunt, I think Sandra was one of them. She was able to get her hands on one, but she said it sold out in like hours.
Listen,
Hours.
let me
Yeah,
share something with y'all.
Costco's all around. Yeah.
Because you said that. Costco's are selling $100 million worth of gold and silver every month. Who buying it? It ain't us.
Right.
We don't know. anything.
$100 million a month.
We don't know anything about it.
You know now. That's why I'm here.
But my cousin that's got all the money doesn't know.
So Warren Buffett a couple years ago bought millions of dollars worth of silver. You remember her? You heard
Yes,
about
he
that?
did.
Millions
Millions of dollars worth of silver.
of silver.
And he bought a mine. He bought a gold mine called Barrick Gold. If you Google it, you'll see it.
And I remember when I was in computer class some years ago when Bitcoin was just starting off. This brother used to tell me, you ought to get into Bitcoin. You know, I didn't know that.
Right.
And it was only a few cents for Bitcoin.
At that time.
And now that same Bitcoin,
800.
$96,000 for that
Listen to what he's
same
saying.
coin right now.
When
Yeah.
you came to the classes that I was teaching in Irvington,
Yeah.
Bitcoin was $3,900.
Right.
Wow.
I was teaching this class since 2017 publicly. I was telling everybody that will listen, it's going to come a time when the price of Bitcoin is going to be so valuable, people going to miss out.
Yeah.
Ethereum was $120. You know what Ethereum is today?
Way
$3,000.
Yep.
$3,000. And here's the thing. Here, I want you to understand this. Put this in your computer, process it. What do you own, or what have you purchased in the last year or 2 years that you can sell for 200% more than what you paid for? What have you purchased? What have you exchanged for dollars that you can sell, that you bought 2 years ago, that you can now sell for 100 or 200% more than what you paid for? If the answer is nothing, then that means you don't own any assets. That's why we struggle. There's only so many. There's only so many fish fries you can do. There's only so many bean pies we can sell. There's only so many fundraisers that we can do to sell each other. We have to interject a system or become a part of a system where the money is coming from the outside to the inside of our community. Do you understand
And
that?
staying inside.
And staying inside. That's the reason why we are suffering as believers.
Right.
Because I know a Muslim who rich and I know one who poor. I know a Christian who rich and I know one who poor. I know an atheist who's rich. I know an atheist is poor. It can't be the religion, because all of us, Allah is so merciful, He shines the sun on all the righteous and the unrighteous. Right? He gave us more water than we can ever consume. He gave you more food than you can ever. If you lived 1,000 years, you would never be able to eat all the food Allah provides for us. I say all of that to say, He also provided us with everything we need to survive here. We just that we are not connected to the understanding of it. All traffic and trade is cut off for what? Jum'ah. After Jum'ah, what do we do? Go seek the bounty of Allah.
Right.
That's what we got to do.
Right.
So that's why I'm here today. The system that I'm going to introduce y'all to allows us to buy gold and silver at 10 to 18% below the price of any other dealer around here. And I'm going to say it again. The system that I am a part of, that I'm going to introduce y'all to, allows you to buy gold and silver between 10 and 18% cheaper than what the dealers are buying it for. Do you understand?
So,
And what Costco's is selling.
So
Yeah.
if
Yes, cheaper.
silver now today, I know I saw it's $32.50.
Mhm.
So
Commission. He gets
you
commission.
saying 10% off that?
No, I'm saying not the spot price. We're buying it
spot
as
price.
we're buying it as close to the spot price as you can get.
Okay.
And how much
The
is that?
retailers, I'm gonna answer that. The retailers, what they do is they'll purchase the gold and silver, they mark it up, and then they resell it to the public, right? The company that we with took the same model of Costco's, took the same model as BJ's or Sam's Club. What they do is they charge us a membership and then sell it to us at a discount. Think about this. Can you go to Costco's and buy food? ShopRite don't sell that food at the same price Costco's can. You would never get it out of ShopRite. Or what's the other one? Stop and Shop. You can't get the same price out of Sam's Club as you get from. That's
Costco's
because,
is buying in bulk.
and they charge you a what? A membership.
I'm
It's
getting
this-
my money through the membership. Yeah.
That's how we get our
Discount.
discount, through the membership. Now, how do the believers make money? How do we increase our income, our savings, assets simultaneously? Because this is what happens. One of the believers become a member. That membership costs anywhere between $149. Let me put this up here, because I don't want to go over my time and I want to make sure I make all the points. $149 for 1 year, or $399 for 18 months. When the next member joins that same Costco style membership, they get paid a portion of the membership from the person they registered. So now that creates what? An income.
Yeah.
So watch this. What happens if Masjid Hadi
Hadi.
Hadid becomes an at-cost metal member, and then all of the members of the masjid purchase their membership from the masjid. Every single member who purchases a membership from the masjid membership, now the masjid is going to earn a commission. Watch this. What happens when the 50 believers from this masjid go out and share their membership with anyone else who wants to buy gold and silver? We all share in the points that lead to a commission that gets the masjid paid again. In each and every individual. What does that mean? You start your membership for you. You start your membership for you and your family. I'll start mine for my family. The gold and silver I earn free. Allah has provided me a way to earn free silver. That's why I give it away. I've been doing this for 7 years. I've given away more than $10,000 worth of gold, silver, and cryptocurrency because I understand where we are now back then. That's why I'm giving it to y'all. I want to educate you to why you need it and give it to you so you can go say, you know what, I got this from this brother. Go take it to your gold and silver guy and let him check it out. Once you understand that this is what it is, then you start to think, wait a minute, what was the price of gold? This is what I want you to understand. Listen to me. I want somebody to tell me what percentage that their bank is paying them on their savings.
1.9%.
Huh?
Like 0.1%.
1.9.
1.9. You get 1.9.
I said,
I
I
don't
was
get
kidding.
that.
I know you
I was
don't.
kidding.
You ain't get 1.9 either.
That's
What?
0.something.
0.1. What about you,
Yeah.
sis?
It was close to 0.1.
All right. So the most that you'll get is 0.6,
Credit union.
and a high, what they call a high yield savings account, is about 4.4 to 4.9. Right? Percent. That's APY. That's annual percentage rate. Or yield, excuse me. That's in a year. Now, I'll give you another. It's another ounce of silver. How much does silver go up in 2024? In one 12-month period.
It went up,
Raise your hand and then tell me.
$15.
no.
$15.
Percent.
Oh,
A
percent.
percent. Tell me the percent.
4%.
That's 4%. Who else?
8%.
Who else?
I'm gonna say 3.5.
What about you, sis?
5%.
What about you, bro?
0.4.
What about you, E-Man?
7%.
What about you, sis?
9.5.
What'd you say?
25%.
Oh.
What was it, 25?
25%.
No, it wasn't 25.
But it was
It was 42%.
Wow.
Wow.
In 1 year.
Wow.
Listen to what I'm telling you. 42% in 1 year is what silver went up. Now y'all understand why they get rich by holding gold and silver? How much did gold go up last year in 2024? 37%. 1 year. 1 year. So here's the wisdom, here's the hikmah, watch this. If we're able to get gold and silver at a discount, then we get paid when we help other people share gold and silver. When the price goes up in value, by default, you become wealthier and wealthier and wealthier. Now here's where it gets interesting. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. Please don't think that. You're not going to get rich with silver and gold tomorrow, next week, or next year. This is a process in which we have posed to, this is what a process that is called generational wealth.
So if I sit on it, and then my next generation come through,
It ain't going to be that long. Watch this, because we're in a cycle. Allah has created everything in cycles and seasons. Everything, right? If we have studied the creation like we were instructed to do, what does the ant do all summer?
store for the winter.
What does the squirrel do all summer?
Store for the winter.
They prepare for the next season. The whole summer, they're preparing for the next season. What do?
You sit back and looking at it like the grasshopper.
Watch this. Now watch this. I said that for a reason because I want you to understand There's a sowing site season, and then there's a harvest. We're about to come up on the harvest. Watch this. In 1964, anybody was born in 1964 around here? Or close to it?
65.
65. Watch this. In 1965, that president is the one who issued the Coinage Act that stole the silver from the U.S. citizens.
Was
In
it
19,
Johnson?
yes, sir, Lyndon Baines Johnson.
Lyndon
He's
Baines
the
Johnson,
one who
that's right.
stole the silver from
I
the
didn't
U.S.
know he
citizens.
stole anything.
He took silver out of our dimes and quarters.
That's right.
So watch this. In 1964, watch this. $1 was worth 1 ounce of silver. Right? The
Right.
medium income home for a home was $20,000.
That's right.
Yeah, that's my brother.
Right? Watch this. So if I took 1 ounce of silver, excuse me, if I took if I took the $20,000 instead of buying a house, and I bought 20,000 ounces of silver, and your twin brother or twin sister saved $20,000, let's look at where we are in 2025. Can $20,000 buy the medium income house in 2025?
No. 20 million?
Now, I need somebody with a calculator to calculate $35 times 20,000.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna teach y'all the math behind the money. This is what they did